Let us chant Namo Tassa before the start of the session. Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samha Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samha Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samha Sambuddhassa. All right. So let us come to number 20. I think it was number. Can you see my screen, everyone? So. Did we manage to finish number 20 last time? No, did we not?
Bhante, in my book, I think under 20, I wonder whether we did part 3, post-nascence dissociation. I'm not sure. I think in 20, number 3, post-nascence dissociation, and it says same as 11 in that.
Yes.
But yes. I haven't put any notes there.
Okay. No, we did finish that as well. We did speak about it, isn't it? We did.
Yes.
We finished.
Yes. Okay, we can start on 21.
Okay, start on 21 today. So does anyone have any questions before we start on 21? Okay. Let us go ahead then. Presence. Damsiri, your mic is unmuted. Do you want to say something? No.
Sorry.
Okay. Right. 21. Presence.
Sorry, Bhante.
Yes, no.
I have a quick question, please.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, Bhante, now?
Yes.
Sorry. There are 3 factors involved in any particular relation. That is conditioning state, conditioned state, and the conditioning force. So what part does conditioning force play here?
Okay, so conditioning force. What conditioning force is what connects conditioning state and the conditioned state. So what is conditioned force here, everyone? What is the conditioning force? Pachya sati. What is the Pachya sati? I think 2 weeks ago.
It's the same as conditioning state, but what the strength or the Dhamma strength behind that.
Yes. Right. So what that means is, Noeline, right? Let us take a example. Let's take nutriment 15. Right. Nutriment. Now material nutriment. And one is nutritive essence in food leads to matter born of nutriment, right? Ahara jarupa, right? Ahara, we know when ahara enters the stream, right? stream means when you eat something, that nutritive essence multiplies or has the ability to produce other nutritive essence within the body, nutrition within the body, right? Now, what is the force there? The force is nutritive essence itself. However, right, what is the nutritive power? Do you understand? Now, when we say nutritive essence in the food, we are talking about solid block nutrition in food, right? That is what conditions. Now, what is this nutrition? Right? What is this nutrition? That nutrition, or the power, or how let us say the uniqueness of that nutrition, or the composition of that nutrition, or how energizing that nutrition is, all of that is the nutritive or pacha sakti, the force, right? What essentially leads to this happening, the go between power between nutritive essence in food and matter born of nutriment, right? The nutritive essence in food and the matter born of nutriment. Now, let us take another example. Kamma, sahajata kamma, is the chetana in 89 chittas. This chetana in 89 chittas leads to 89 chittas and 51 chetasikas, right? So as a conditioning state, we are referring to the chetana in the 89 chittas. The conditioning force, the pacha sakti, refers to the same chetana, but its force, the power. Do you get it? Yeah. So we are referring to then the force or the power carried by this chetana, which leads to this arising. Yeah, which leads to this arising. So if one is to ask what is the conditioning force, we can say konasant kamma, right? The volition in the 89 itself, the force within that is the conditioning force, pacha sakti, which allows for this to arise. Yeah.
So this force is in all the chittas or just?
Force is in any phenomenon.
Okay.
With regards to any phenomenon which is mentioned here in under the conditioning state has a force, has an energy, has a power. It is through that power, that energy, that the result comes about, the conditioned state comes about, right? So this go between power, there's a power go between power, no? That go between power is the pacha sakti. Does that make sense? Is the pacha sakti.
Bhante, is that why the nutriment, they say where the nutriment one, where we are considering the oja, that they say that is the in the case of a chili, that what makes a chili hot or something, that is the force. I remember reading that somewhere when they described that as an example. Is that what they were saying? For when they explained the sati, pacha sakti, they said something like if we eat a chili and the power of that depends on the power of the chili taste. So that was the force. Am I right in remembering that properly?
Which book did you read that from?
I only read this book we are reading from here. I don't read any other books on Abhidhamma.
Okay, you read the power of the chili is a force in this book?
Yeah, no, when they were talking about chilies, they were telling, for an example, the power of it. Like when you eat food, so like how strengthened.
Yes. No, I understand, but I sort of because I can't remember that example. Which part of the book did you find that example?
When I was reading the chapter 8 at the beginning introduction, I can't remember exactly when I started reading it. I think it must be here. It is. Here it is in page 294, right?
Okay.
the conditioned relationship. At the bottom, 293, bottom of 293, Bhante, it says, a fourth sati is that which has the power to bring about or accomplish an effect. Just as the hotness of chili is inherent in the chilies and cannot exist without them, so too the conditioning forces are inherent in the conditional state and cannot exist without them.
Yes, yes.
That's
So,
exactly how they have explained the force.
yes. So the chili, so this is not to say that the chili is the force, but just as the inherent power, right? Yes. So the inherent power found within every phenomenon. Thank you, Dil, for bringing that up, right? Now, if we go back to the chart, right? With nutriment, Noeline, with nutriment, the every ahara has that inherent force within it. That inherent force is what drives towards the result of the conditioning state. That force within it is the Paccaya Sati. Right? Another example, for example, the 6 roots. Each of the six roots has a specific force, right? Within it, inherent to it. That itself becomes a force that drives towards the conditioned states, being the 71 rooted chittas, the 52 chaitasikas, excluding delusion, this whole thing. Do you understand? Right? Within each and every phenomenon, even here, if we take this, let us take a rupa. Yeah. Now at rebirth, we are taking this is Sahajata, and the heart base, right? In Sahajata Pancha. Here, in the Panchavokara Bhumi, 4 mental aggregates and the heart base, right? Now, if we take the heart base, that supports the arising of the mental aggregates, right? The heart base has an inherent force which supports the arising of the mental aggregates. Do you understand? Does the heart base do anything else? No. The heart base does not do anything else other than support the arising of the mental aggregates. Hence, we find this power within the heart base which supports that. That power is the Paccaya Sati. Right? Almost a driving force, just as Dill sort of recollected from the book, the chili, within the chili is what makes it a chili. Right? If it was not, then it wouldn't really be a chili. I mean, debatable. I saw that. Debatable, but just for the sake to make my life easier. Right? So, yes. Does that make sense, Noeline?
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah. We'll take another example. Karma. We took this karma. Now, for example, asynchronous karma, right? Remember asynchronous karma, everyone? Right? Karma, the result does not arise at that very moment. It can give rise later. There's a break between the arising of it, or when the conditioning state happens and the conditioned state. There's a break between it, right? It doesn't happen all together. Now, when we take asynchronous karma, this karma, right, 33 past wholesome and unwholesome volitions past. So this karma was done in the past. That past karma has a force. That force is what enables it to give rise somewhere in the future. Is that clear? Like which every phenomenon has that inherent force within it. Yeah? Okay.
Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante, in Valimada Jinalankara Thero explains the force in the Karma section, he says the Chetana is the, he explains it's like the team leader. He says it's the force behind it. Has the Chetana has got the force behind it, and he says the conditioning force, the is the Chetana, and he says it's like a team leader.
Yes, yes, team leader. Okay, okay. Now, coming to the chart. Oh, so let us go into presence. Let us go into presence. The Pali is Attipachaya. Atti, right? Attipachaya. What is Attipachaya? Right? Do we have the page for Attipachaya?
$322, Bhante.
322. Thank you so much. 322. Oh, wait. Here it is. Atti. Right. Now, before we go on to Atti, simply just guide your attention to this chart. What can you see? Do you see anything? This chart, right? You can see the chart, right? Can you? Yes. Right. So we have here.
Can you make it a bit bigger, Bhante, please?
Of course, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's fine, Bhante. Thank you.
Right. There you go. Now, if you just guide your attention to 21. Attipachaya. Nattipachaya. Atti, Natti, Avigata, Vigata. Avigata, Vigata. Right? Now, all of these, even in Lady Seado's book, if you have visited it, it doesn't offer much of an explanation. Why? It is basically speaking of a very similar concept. Ati vu hetuwen attipachaya vashen nam wenama. Nati vu hetuwen nattipachaya vashen nam wenama. Right? Nati vana hetuwen avigata vigata. Avigata pachaya vashen nam wenama. Nati vana hetuwen. Right? Now here Sinhala mage tika kamaru metan mat meka kiyanna. Excuse me for that. But this is the fact that it doesn't disappear, it is known as non-disappearance. Again, because it is present, it is presence. Because it disappears, it becomes absence. Because it disappears, absence, the absence of it. No. Because it is not present, or because it is not there, it is absence. Because it disappears, it is disappearance. Right? And the fact that it hasn't disappeared is its non-disappearance. Right? What it is speaking about, right? What it is speaking about are the times and the motions of these dharmas, the conditioning states. Right? Of the conditioning states. Now just keep that in mind. It will become clearer by the end of the class. Right? Now coming to, can you see this? Yes, you can. Right. I'm going to make the screen.
And a quick question, please.
Yes.
With the presence and non-disappearance, it says identical in meaning, different in the letter. What does that mean?
Identical in meaning, different in the letter. I'm going to come to that. Identical in meaning, different in letter. What it basically is saying is two sides of the coin. Right? It's two sides. Now, for example, a Dhamma is present, and there is a time that Dhamma is not present. Isn't it? A Dhamma, any sort of chitta, is present, and then it's not present. It's basically that. Right? I will explain as we go. Right? Don't worry. It's not a difficult thing, right? Hari. Presence condition, everyone. And then non-disappearance is also explained here. Presence. These are two conditions identical in meaning and differing only in the letter. I will explain. In this relationship, a conditioning state helps the conditioned states to arise or persist in being during a time when it exists alongside the conditioned states. It is not necessary, however, for the conditioning state and the conditioned state to be connascent. All that is required is for the two to be temporarily overlap. Temporarily overlap. ඒ කියන්නේ යම්කිසි ධර්මයන් දෙකක් එක වෙලාවක හට ගන්න ඕන. Right? Two dhammas has to arise at one point together. Right? That's it. And for the conditioning state to support in some way the conditioned states during the time they overlap, and for the conditioning state to support in some way the conditioned states during the time that they overlap, right? During the time that they overlap. Thus, presence condition includes pre-nascence, post-nascence, as well as connascence. Pre-nascence, post-nascence, as well as connascence. While the text mentions only 5 types of presence condition, since these 5 in turn include additional subsidiary types, presence condition comprises a wide variety of other conditions. Presence condition comprises a wide variety of other conditions. Again, since these 5 in turn include additional subsidiary types, presence condition comprises a wide variety of other conditions. This will become clear in the next section, in which deals with the subsumption of all conditional relations under 4 master conditions. So that is later, right? Now let us come to the chart, everyone. Right, let us come to the chart. Now, is this big enough?
A little bit more, Bhante, please.
A little bit more, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah? Okay. Now, within this chart, everyone, within this chart, if we just see within this chart, right, we have Atti, Natti, Vigata, Abhigata. Under Attipacha, we have Sahajata, connascence presence, Purejata, Atti, pre-nascence presence, Pachajata, Atti, post-nascence presence, Ahara Atti, nutriment presence, Indriya Atti. Now don't be confused, big words, right? Don't be confused, please. For my sake, don't be confused. Big words, but easy approach. Why it is easy is this. Attipacha has to fulfill, now as mentioned, 2 main functions. One is it must overlap. 2 dhammas must overlap. And the second is it must support. It's persisting. Right? Those 2, wasn't it? What was mentioned? Right? Again, if you go to the text here, these are 2 conditions identical in meaning, differing only in the letter. In this relationship, a conditioning state helps the conditioned state to arise or persist in being during a time when it exists alongside the conditioned states. It is not necessary, however, for the conditioning state and the conditioned states to be connascent, all that is required is for two to be temporarily overlap. And for the conditioning state to support in some way the conditioned state during the time they overlap. Now that is what is important, right? ධර්මයන් වෙලාවට පවතිනවා නම් පැවතීමෙන් ධර්මයන්ට අවශ්‍ය පදනම support එක ලැබෙනවා නම් එතන අත්තිපච්චය සම්පූර්ණ වෙනවා, right? So these dharmas, when they arise, if they arise together and if they are supported by the other dhammas, attipacca, basically this is talking about a time. This is talking about a time when these dharmas are in a stage of presence. First one. Now as we go through these, it will become clear. Connascence, right? Connascence. Sahajata atti. Sahajata, during a point of during Sahajata Pachaya, what happens? During Sahajata Pachaya, so number 6, right? During Sahajata Pachaya, we have dharmas that arise together. Dharmas that arise together, in arising together, does it not support one another? Right? In its moment of presence, it does, right? Hence, now you see, connascence. It arises together. Because these dharmas are present. Because these dharmas, now 6a everyone, because these dharmas are present and they overlap with these, what happens? There is presence. That is what it's talking about. Do you understand? Right? Now, both at rebirth and existing, 89 chittas, 52 chetasikas, which support each other and connascent matter. Now remember, Damsir, I think you brought it up last week, wasn't it? During the time of rebirth and existence, right? Now, if we are to just take these two, everyone, during rebirth, connascent matter is only chitta rupa. No, karmaja rupa. Karmaja rupa. During rebirth, connascent matter is only karmaja rupa. During existence, connascent matter is chittada rupa. Does that make sense, everyone? Right? Why? Right? Why? Connascent matter is sahajata rupa. At rebirth, connascent matter, I mean, there is no mind, right? What has to connascent matter, sahajata rupa, then can only arise through karma. There are inflictions of karma brought through by the patisandhi, right? Hence, sahajata rupa can only, at the time of rebirth, can only be karmaja rupa. At the moment of existence, it can only be chittada rupa, right? Be chittada rupa. At certain, yes, Damsiri.
Another condition, that's a pravritti karmaja rupa.
Pravritti karmaja rupa.
Yeah, that means now when you have let's say in the second bhavanga chitta, you continue to produce karmaja rupa. Those are called pravritti karmaja rupa.
Pravritti karmaja
rupa. So that's something called pravritti karmaja rupa also.
Yes.
Patisandhi karmaja rupa, which is at the time of rebirth, which is only one moment, and all the bhavangas, they continue to follow the same type of chittaja rupa, karmaja rupa, but they are called pravritti karmaja rupa.
Pravritti karmaja rupa, of course, because we know certain karmas can give rise during the time of existence.
That's right. Yes.
Right? During the time of existence.
Yeah.
However, in this case scenario, let us stick to but obviously there are karmas that can give rise during the time of existence, which is pravritti karmaja rupas. Right? Pravritti karmaja rupas. Pravritti karmaja rupas. All right, everyone. So, coming back to this, connaissance atti, sahajata atti. Sahajata atti. Sahajata atti, both at rebirth and existence, 89 chittas, 52 chesikas, which supports each other, and connaissant matter, give rise to 89 chittas, 52 chesikas, supported by each other, and connaissant matter. You see? Right? සිංහලෙන් කිව්වොත් ඒ ධර්ම පවතින හේතුවෙන්ම අත්ති පච්චය හෝ අත්ති සහජාත පච්චය වශයෙන් අපිට නම් කරන්න පුළුවන්. තේන්නද? Right? The fact that these dharmas are present to support one another is what connaissant atti is, or connaissant present is. Is that clear? Is that clear, everyone? Any questions? Padma? Geeta? Is that clear? Right? Hemamali? I see you're here with us today, Hemamali.
But for a certain unavoidable thing, we have to reschedule the
Reschedule.
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, glad to have you with us here.
Thank you.
හරි. තේරුණාද හේමාලේ? Was it clear?
Yes, clear, Bhante. Yeah.
Right. So then again, another part, connaissance B, with the four great essentials which support each other and derived matter. Support each other and derived matter gives rise to four great essentials supported by each other and derived matter. Now, do you see? Right? If Patavi is to arise, it gives rise to the rest of the four great essentials supported by each other and connaissant matter. Now, the fact that these dhammas overlap, right, are present, overlap and support each other is what leads to connaissant atti, present. Yes, Padma. You have to unmute yourself.
This is just a hair splitting, I think. Now, in this one, you can hear me now?
Yes, Padma.
In the conditioning, it says and derived matter. In the condition says derived connaissant matter. Is there any importance in it?
Hey, එක වෙලාවට හටගන්නත් ඕනේනේ. They must arise at one point as well.
Okay, right. Thank you. Yeah.
Right? The fact that these dharmas, now this is what we spoke about within a time frame, within the chitta viti, chitta the rupas, right? These chitta the rupa dharmas arise as the rupa arises, or as the consciousness arises, with the consciousness arises the rupas. These rupas are sahajata, ekat uppattiyak labanne. Right? That is of paramount importance. Why? Because atti pachaya is the fact that these dharmas overlap. Do you understand? Is that clear, Padma?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Right. Now, the C, right? This is Sahajata C, which is Panchavokara Bhumi within the 5 aggregate plane at rebirth. 4 mental aggregates support the arising of the heart base, and the heart base supports the arising of the 4 the mental aggregates. Is that clear? At rebirth, in the 5 aggregate planes, 4 mental aggregates and the heart base. 4 mental aggregates and the heart base, right? The heart base supported by the mental aggregates and mental aggregates supported by the heart base, right? That arises together, supporting one another to persist, right? That is how it becomes sahajata atti. Sahajata atti. Is that clear, everyone? Right? But I think now, if we are to, I feel like, judging from the faces, I feel like this C is not too clear. Am I correct in assuming that C is not very clear how it happens? Yes, I am. Okay. At rebirth, now we are talking about sahajata. Sahajata dharmas that arise together, right? Together, sahajata. This happens at 3 instances with rebirth and existence. 89 chittas and 52 chesikas supported by Kanasa matter arise, leading to the same to arise. The 4 great essentials, and now we have, apart from the 4 great essentials, now the heart base, right? Now we know now what is the heart base? The heart base is a seat of mind, right? Heart base is a seat of mind. Now, if I am to say the eyes, I am able to touch the eyes, isn't it? I am able to touch the eyes, I am able to touch the ears. If it's the tongue, the rasa, right? They say the rasa, the organic matter which take the rasa starts from the I don't know what you call it, but that edge of the tongue from the back, right? I don't want to sort of show it, but you get what I mean. Right? From there. For the Buddha, they say it starts from this whole area, right? From the whole tongue, the Buddha says. So the Buddha is able to absorb more nutrient, right? So now, for example, with the tongue, I can literally put my finger in and touch it, isn't it? Right? I have a sense of where it is. Now, heart base. Where is the heart base? Yes, of course, in the Dhamma, it talks about the heart and the thick blood associated where this arises and all of that, isn't it? So because we sort of have read this in the Dhamma, we have an assumption of where it might be according to what the Dhamma says. If people were to just go with science, then people would assume that the heart base is simply in the brain or, somewhere. But actually even scientists don't know. Scientists are also trying to find that out. It's a lot of sort of theories that they have, right? But I think they have deduced that it is not in the brain also. Now, because they're looking at the energy of the gut, they're looking at the energy of the heart, so they have actually deduced that it is not in the brain as they first thought it was, that it is somewhere where if it is they are trying to deduce whether it is within the heart or the gut. They're at the gut, right? But I think with time they will move to the heart. Let's see. Hopefully. Right. Anyways, now that is an important thing to hold in your mind, because when we are taking an object, right, because it says heart base, it seems like, because when we say chakkudhatu or chakkudwara, our mind would directly go to the retina, right, or the eardrum if you're talking about the ears. But heart base, we are adverting to mental qualities. That is what we are adverting to, isn't it? We are not adverting to the heart. We are adverting to mental qualities that arise. This continuous function working, we assume that it is up here, but this continuous function which is working here, which is consciousness, right? Now, your ability to think and process information, right? It is that what we advert to. So, keeping that in mind, everyone, at the moment of rebirth, in the 5 aggregate plane, The four mental aggregates, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana, and the heart base. Now, what is Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana? Consciousness. Right? Now, yes, true, we speak about Vedana Sanya, we see it in the Chaitasika Dharmas, but we also know that Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara does not arise without Sanya and Vedana, isn't it? Sanya will not arise without Vedana and Sankhara. Vedana will not arise without Sanya and Sankhara. They have to arise together. That is why within the Chaitasika Dharma this is taken out and given so much prominence within the five aggregates, because these aggregates have to arise together. Right? So the four aggregates, mind, consciousness, and of course including the Chaitasikas, and the heart base is the conditioning state. Now think about that. The heart base is a seat of mind where this consciousness arises moment to moment. Because of this, right? Because of this interaction, because of this arises heart base supported by mental aggregates supported by the heart base. Do you understand? Right? Now, what if, now even at times when we are in deep sleep, what is the process which runs? Bhavanga. Right? Is the heart base ever rid of the four mental aggregates? No, it's not. Even at the moment of sleep, the Bhavanga runs. What does the Bhavanga hold? The spirit, the essence, the energy of the Patisandhi consciousness, by which we achieve rebirth in that birth. Isn't it? Right? So that is what, now do you understand what this section is about, everyone? Is that clear? Hemamali, Noili? No. Let me go further. Right? Let me go further. Then what this section is about is essentially the mind that arises based upon the heart base. Sanya, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana arises supported by the heart base. These, as the heart base supports this supports the heart base as well. Do you understand? Isn't it? Right? Now let's take an easy example. Let's take the eye, right? The prasada rupa. If the ahetuka karmas to see rupas does not, if chakku vijnana does not arise, what would happen? You cannot see. Right? Possibly the chakku pasada would also be, now let us say you have no karmas to see, right? Ekanne chakku pasada ho chakku vijnana consciousnesses do not arise for you. You do not have that karma. What would possibly happen is your pasada rupa will not function. Now you see, the consciousness that arises allows the prasada rupa to also continue. The chakku, the rupa base to also continue. Right? Isn't it? Because consciousness, the chakku vijnana arises at that base, isn't it? Remember? At the chakku base. Now, if the consciousness does not arise or is not going to arise because we don't have the karma for it, the base would also not function. Now you see, just as much as the prasada helps the consciousness to arise, the consciousness helps the base to be. Do you understand now? That is what we are talking about with this, you see. four mental aggregates, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, arises based on the heart base. The supporting of the heart base also takes place by the four mental aggregates at the time of rebirth. At the time of rebirth. Yes, Damsiri.
The comment I like to make, the heart base is prasada rupa, prasada, but empirical seat for the consciousness. It's a seat for the consciousness.
The seed
But-
of consciousness.
Yeah, but it's empirical in nature. Empirical in the sense that in science we use actually, if you are not 100% sure of the location, right? But we know that it exists. Then we use the word empirical,
Okay.
right? And so it's an empirical location.
Mm-hmm.
But still, when it comes to unicellular animals, or not animals, GB,
Okay.
and they still have some sort of consciousness, but without any heart.
Okay.
So that means without, because if you assume amoeba or something like that, there's no heart. But that's the reason why some scientists say that actually the heart base is located in the cell wall, because it's in the cell wall. And because there are some biological concept actually confirming that the consciousness actually, because based on these unicellular animals, the consciousness actually it's everywhere in a human being, because we have billions and billions of cells, and it's spread all over the body.
And it's spread all over the body.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, everyone, is this clear now? Does it make sense? Right. Remember, it has to arise, right, together, and as it does, it has to support it to arise or persist, right? And so the heart base and the mental aggregates arise in such a manner, right? This is referring to consciousness, everyone, right? Consciousness and the seat of consciousness. Is that clear now? Right? Because at the time of rebirth, we know of what we know from medical science. We know that in Buddhism it says that just because the fertilization between the sperm and the egg happens physically does not mean that rebirth has occurred. Rebirth occurs when consciousness happens, right? Now this is talking about that consciousness happening moment, right? Consciousness happening moment. Do you understand? Is it clear? So now, yes, at that time we do not have a heart, right? We do not possibly, what we have is a cellular structure which might support the seat of mind, or as a seat of mind, which might be later on developing into the heart base, which I think what Damsiri then mentioned there can be sort of taken, isn't it, Damsiri? Neither. It sort of makes sense in a certain way. So, does everyone understand what this C is then? Right? It's talking about the arising of consciousness at the moment of rebirth. And consciousness cannot just arise, no. Consciousness needs a base. What is that base? The heart base. Got it? Right? Can we move on? Deal? Make sense? Yeah? Mala, do you want to say something? Devika? Okay.
Bhante,
Yeah.
when somebody dies,
Yeah.
there's Tuti Sitta.
Mm.
Now, to find the correct parents, it doesn't, I think it won't go like randomly to any parent with a zygote, with the sperm and the ovum.
Mm.
Is there a sort of a, can the consciousness stay without a base in a in between condition till the consciousness finds the correct parents?
බලංගොඩ ආනන්ද මෛත්‍රිය නායක හාමුදුරු කියලා තියෙනවද නේද මොනවද මේ ගැන? I feel like someone told me that Balangudu Anand Maitreya Thero mentioned something about Antara Bhava. Antare neme Antara Bhave.
Yeah, he has spoken like that.
Right? Antara Bhave. Antara Bhava, right? just want to clear myself on that. So Balangoda Venerable Balangoda Manayaka Hamduru has spoken about a sort of a Antara Bhava where he sort of insinuates on this sort of a thing, right? This sort of thing. However, in Abhidhamma, it does not speak about such a situation. Right? In Abhidhamma, it does not speak of such a situation. What it says is consciousness is a continuous process, right? Consciousness is a continuous process and there is no lingering about. Hence, what we could sort of take now, even in the stories spoken of by the Buddha, it speaks about, the Buddha speaks of events where beings gain what can be called a short-term rebirth. The Buddha doesn't call it a short-term rebirth, but they gain a short-term rebirth within as a specific being, right? And within, there are sort of insects and animals who die within days, right? Their lifespan is literally days. Even sort of ghouls and ghosts and pretas and pisachas and these sorts of individuals as well, right? Their ayusha can be very short as well, right? Depending on the power of the karma. They can gain rebirth and then sort of move on, right? Gain rebirth and then sort of move on, right? And then sort of move on. So we do not consider it a Antara Bhava. We consider it another rebirth on its own. And during this time, with our Sinhalese Buddha culture, we have got used to this 7-day practice, or the 7-day, 1 month, 3 months, isn't it? Right? Actually, the pin anumodan kirime, or the sharing of merit, should start from the moment of death. Really, the moment of death. Because I remember, yes, I'm not going to say that story, but but there are beings who sort of upon death, for a short span of time, are reborn into sort of especially the hellish realms closest to earth, right? Hellish realms closest to earth, right? And closest to the humans, right? So that would be the yakas, pretas, pisachas, kumbhandas, all of these sort of beings. And during this time, they will most probably be within the vicinity of what they are familiar with, right? What they are familiar with. Hence, it is important for merits to be shared with the departed one throughout that time. And merit is an absolute powerful thing, right? It really is, because beings truly sort of liberate themselves because they simply need a abnormal or higher vibration to trigger death. They simply need, because they are weaker than this body. Now this body is very gross, right? This body needs something bigger to die, right? Those bodies, just like the, for example, the devas, but the devas are more powerful. Their janaka karmas are more powerful. The weaker beings, or these pretas, yakas, pusachas, kumbhandas, and all those beings, they are very weak. Their life force is very weak. Hence, with a frequency that is able to, or is a frequency which radiates with a resonates with a higher life force, they will die and be reborn immediately, right? This happened to my father upon his death, right? My father, upon his death, was reborn in the hellish realms, right? And he was reborn in the hellish realms. In front of our house, there is a huge 20-foot sort of stone wall, maybe 20, yeah, it's huge. Right in front, it is like a tummang handira, right? It's not a tummang handira, right? But it's a state, but it has a road like that, yeah? And my father was born, and he was stuck within a fiery circle within this, near this, facing the house, wailing towards the house, right? Wailing towards the house. So he was, half of his body was underground, half of his body above the waist was above ground. And he was within a fiery pit, right, where the furnace-like fires were coming out of the ground. So, within the course of 7 days, within the course of 2 weeks, 7 days, 2 weeks, 14 days, with the sharing of merit and with all the pincomers that we did and I did, of course, my meditational power was very strong at the time as well, right? My father gained release from that and was reborn in a more sort of comfortable realm within the Manusha Atma again, right? How do I know? Now that's the question. How do I know? So when I was meditating, after returning back to Burma, I did not have much time to meditate in Sri Lanka during the processes. You know how it is. Yeah, I didn't have much time. And I only came down to Sri Lanka to see my father at the time of his death. The same day he died, I couldn't see him. So then, of course, as is, we have to arrange for everything, isn't it? And after returning, so we did the puja, the danas and all of that, finished with all of that. And after returning back to Burma, I was meditating. And while I was meditating, I was constantly seeing this. Constantly, every meditational sitting I was seeing this again and again and again. And then, so I called my mother and I told her, look, I think we need to do more pinkam, right? We need to share more merits. And she was like, why? Right? And she said, and actually, no, she did not say why. She said, yes, I think so too. I asked her why. She said, why you just agreed with me? How come? That is unnatural of you. And she said that the soothsayer or some sort of person that she has a lot of trust in had negated this image to her, which was the same image what I have just told you. The same details, the same location, the same position in front of the house, tummang handi, all of that, above, half body above, all of that. So then when I sort of heard this, at first I was doubtful of what I was seeing as well, right? So then what I did was I was now meditating more transferring merits, transferring merits, transferring merits. And my brother had a dream at the end of the 2 weeks, and he said, and my father had said that he has passed on. On the same day, sort of, got an image of my father saying thank you, and that was it. Right? And that was it. Right? So the passing of merit during this time, people should not wait for 7 days. The 7-day story comes with the story, with a specific story with regards to a family, isn't it? Because the insect within the closet was going to pass away within 7 days, isn't it? So then at that time, pin anumodan kara. Right? So actually what must happen is අපිට පුළුවන් නම් ඇත්තටම හැමදාම වුණත් අපිට පින් අනුමෝදන් කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒක තමයි වැදගත් වෙන්නේ. Right? That is very important.
It is practiced in Sri Lanka. During a funeral time, every evening, they chant a special pirit. I can't remember the pirit. Every day they do. Besantara Jatakaya. Yeah, and they do it. They do it, and it's very interesting because they practice this right throughout the funeral 7 days, And the other thing is actually this is mainly in the villages. Of course, nowadays the modern world, they ignore this one. There's truth in it, because I have done a course while I was in Canada on psychology, and they explain exactly the same thing.
Okay.
They say that people can be trapped here without knowing that they are dead. So they can do various things in your house, and then what you have to do is actually convince them that they are dead, and then you give them a little bit of energy push to come out from that. So it is actually in some of these groups they practice this.
Absolutely. And I think if we remember the stories we heard after the tsunami, right, of people who were of these ghosts of the dead, who were simply wandering, they were getting into tuk-tuks, they were getting into cabs, they were getting into buses, all these stories. I mean, we did not believe it really, I think, isn't it? Some did, but I know that I was quite young. Regardless, the same tsunami which happened in Japan, right? I think it was the same tsunami. The same tsunami hit Japan, didn't it? Or was this another tsunami? Maybe it was another tsunami, right? And Netflix did a docu-series about it, of these ghosts and experiences with these ghosts, where Damsi, the same thing that you said, right? So these taxi drivers in Japan, these ghosts, they get into these cars apparently, not knowing that they are dead. Not knowing that they are dead. And you simply need to remind them or convince them that they are, or they have passed, and that they need to move on. And apparently then they disappear. Right?
This is so true, because I know somebody who had done a lot of merit right throughout their life, and to the family and to them, and a really decent person. When he was getting fairly old, around 70, and this I know personally because I was there was a domestic in that house, a woman, and this woman realized that this man was quite wealthy. So she used to always get around this man and get her to give a lot of money, and because he had money, he didn't mind. But she did something more than that, and this we may believe or not. There are ways that you can charm and get people's minds. So what she did is, in the house, she went to some place like what your mother had gone, and she charmed, she's supposed to, and every day there was a flower arrangement on the bedside table. She used to put some oil that she was given, so that this man would, without thinking, whenever she asked money, give large sums of money. So what happened is, when this person died, two things happened. So it was a big house and the body was there and there were chandeliers. And all of a sudden, there had never been a problem of electricity. So while the body was there in the house, the light started, there was the electric failure. And all of a sudden, the whole thing failed. Okay, and it was going on. So there was a lady who was there, because you sit with the body on that first night, all the relatives. And she was a very wise woman. And she said, there's something that's happened here. So they ran to a place where, I don't know, they call them some light readings. And they said at once that this person can't go to where he should have gone because there is an effect that has been put on this. And quickly to go to the room, and then nobody, there was a bowl of flower arrangement. This woman had come and said, make a dantiyala palak ne, and thrown this flower arrangement away. And they said, where is it? She threw it away. So they were told to go and quickly do a very big pinkama. And all these things stopped before and the person went away, right? And there was another young boy, and this one I know because he got an exam result. The father was keeping on going, and one day this young boy, he committed suicide. And he hung himself or something because his father was saying, why didn't you get 8 distinctions when he had got 5, much more than you need for medicine? But the father was keeping on saying. And there again, the family kept on having all kinds of things happening. And only they were told to do and give atapirikaras and so many things, that effect also passed away. And, and another very close relative of mine who was also, he died, and he didn't die a good death, though he's very wealthy again and very, a person is very good. He had gone on that night with another friend, and he had drunk and had a fight with his mother and done lots of things, and the car crashed and he died on the spot. And when he died, because I suppose he was under the influence of alcohol, he had had a big fight with the mother, his mind must have been bad. The same thing happened. And this mother, because she was quite wealthy, she painted Kirivehara. And after the whole thing was done and the merit was done, she felt a sense of heaviness around her. That thing got lifted. So I think these things have a lot of, though we don't realize it. And that's why in most houses, I didn't know it was Vesantara, whatever the Pirita, but I know that the Tun Sutra and you have all these Piritan, they're constantly being played. I remember when my mother she was there and she said, please don't revive me. She was fully ordered, going to come home. And she was talking, we were talking to him. And then as soon as we always had the Parita chanting, we immediately put, and we know she's gone to a good place. But one step more, in Thailand, there are monks who have got this Abhidhamma who can see where you go and get born. And they can tell exactly, there are some monks in Thailand who have caught. And I know that I'm not going to mention the name, but when one of these very senior Ajahns, the father, they were of course from England, and the father got cancer. And he had been a good man, but in terms of the things that Westerners do, he hadn't on alcohol and lots of other things. There were issues. And he died of cancer with the brain, and he suffered quite a bit. He came from, he's in Australia, but he came back. And as soon as he heard, during the time of all this, the pandemic, and stayed and focused the father's mind in between the lapses of consciousness, kept on bringing to the good things that he had done, focused and focused and focused and focused like that. And I think there was this lapse of about 2. And when he passed away, he went to a good birth. And the monks in Thailand were seeing this, and they were telling. So in Thailand, they do this one. The ones who have got Abhidhamma, and they follow. And this monk was also the head of a birthday. And he told us the whole story, because we asked like you, how do you know all this, right? And he said, this is what happens. So it's a very good thing that if you're around your elderly or your parents or someone, and if you can focus at these times, on keeping your mind in a good state of mind, and particularly when you do, people do good and bad. So, and some people call it a pink put, but you constantly, have things and all this kind of, when you have, given a cut in a pink, all these people take pictures, and they keep on showing these so that the feeble mind can have some idea to focus on all these. So I always thought, why are you doing it? But when I heard from the Ajahns, and when I heard what had happened, and step by step, and they could see like this sinking and coming down, sinking and coming down, so that, and they were monitoring from Thailand while this was happening in England. And then he came and said, at last he's gone to a good way. He never did that for his mother, because the mother was always had a very peaceful in a old home, and she never had these thoughts. So in fact, he didn't mind, because he knew that would happen. But the father, he had to do. So there's a lot of these things, Bhante, that we can learn from.
Yes, absolutely. And okay, shall we get back to the lesson? Yeah? නැත්තම් මේ හොල්මන් කතා lesson එකක් වෙනවා මේක.
So you're releasing beings from bad in sansara, helping them to go. So that's a great offering, Bhante. Not Holman Katha.
Excuse me, I have a lovely story, but this is not the time, I think. It's going too far now.
Sujata, we can barely hear you, Sujata.
You can't hear me, sir.
Oh, now we can hear you. Now
You
we can.
can. What I was saying is, I have a similar recent happening. I don't want to talk about it now, I said. But it will prolong the lesson then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fine, Sujata. It's fine. You can
In
also.
short, can I tell you then, but this is short.
Yes,
right?
you can tell
A
all
friend
of
of
us.
mine, who was a teacher, of course, died or something or other. Then her younger sister is my friend, really. I ring her, I knew about this death. We all here, the old girls here got together, and we all knew about it. When I rang my friend Devika, she says, no, she never answers the phone, the mobile phone. So then when everything was over, Dana and things were over, after about 6 months, she tells me her sister who died had stopped her from using this telephone, mobile phone. I said, how do you know? That's what it is. Then after some time, Devika, my friend, fell off the bed and broke her spine. She said, this also what my sister did. I said, how do you know all this? Then they had gone to a Sastragara and they had told them the story. Then the telephone started working after that. I'm just telling you a real true story. This is that's all I can tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Sujata. Right. So let us get back to Attipacha. Right? Attipacha. Right. Now. Right. Now, is connascent then clear how it is connascent atti, everyone? Right. Now, pre-nascence atti, same as 10, right? It should be pre-nascence, right? Pre-nascence 10. Pre-nascence atti. Ekane pure jata atti. Base. Base, same as 8 to A. 8 support Nisaya Pachaya to A. Right? Nisaya, Pure Jata Nisaya, Vattu Pure Jata Nisaya. Right? Vattu Pure Jata Nisaya. So, base Pure Jata is same as Vattu Pure Jata Nisaya. What does that mean? During existence, 6 material bases gives rise to, right? During existence, 6 material bases, right? Gives rise to is a conditioning state, and the conditioned state is in the 5 aggregate plane, 85 chittas, 52 chetasikas. 52 chetasikas. Is that clear? Right? Now, how is this atti pure jata? Right? Atti pure jata. 6 material bases during existence giving rise to 85 chittas, 52 chetasikas. Right? What does this mean? How is it now going back to this, right? These two conditions identically meaning different only in letter. In this relationship, a conditioning state helps a conditioned state to arise or persist in being during a time when it exists alongside the conditioned state. That is how, do you understand? Vattu Pure Jata. Because is the base present or not? The base is also present. Is the base present or not, everyone? If it is Chakku, if it is Sota, if it is Gana, Jivha, Kaya or Mano, which is the Hadaya, is the base not present? Yes, it is present. Right? Based on this arises, or through this, conditioned by this arises the 85 chittas and 52 chesikas, excluding, of course, the 4 immaterial sphere resultants, because they do not arise in the physical plane. We've already gone over that. Is it clear? Is it clear? Noeline, Hemali, Geeta, Padma, Lettis, Anoma, how about you there? I'm so sorry if your cameras were on. Well,
it's clear, Bhante. I'm trying.
Is it clear?
Yes, Bhante.
Trying to understand.
But I'm a bit confused. I'm a bit confused with this overlapping thing. I don't know, Bhante.
Overlapping කියලා කියන්නේ the conditioning state is present when the conditioned state comes to be. Right? Comes to be. Now, when during existence, the 6 material bases, right? The 6 material bases, they give rise to, or conditioned by these bases, what arises? The conditioning states of the 85 chittas and 52 chetasikas can arise. Right? Now, can anyone tell me what are the chittas that can arise in, or now how many places can consciousness arise? How many places can consciousness arise?
6, Bhante. 6 places.
6 places consciousness can arise. Now, of these, let us take Chakku just for ease, right? Within the Chakku, what are the consciousnesses that can arise?
Only Chakku Vinyana.
Only
Chakku Vinyana.
Chakku Vinyana.
Only Chakku Vinyana, right? No other consciousness? No other consciousness? Is it only Chakku Vinyana?
Recognizing it, yeah.
Bhante, what about the 7 chetasikas?
With the Chakku Vinyana? Yes. Associated with the
With
Chakku
the 7
Vinyana?
chetasikas.
Yes, of course. The 7 chetasikas. What are those chetasikas? The Sabbachitta Sadharana.
Sabbachitta Sadharana.
Right? The Sabbachitta Sadharana. So those arise at the base. So consciousnesses can arise at the base. Right? Now, when these consciousnesses arise at the same, or not at the same time, but when they arise, conditioned by these bases. Now, this is Vattu Pure Jata. Vattu Pure Jata Nisaya. The base which appeared in the past gives rise to this. The base which appeared in the past gives rise to this. Now focus, everyone, right? When this arises, is the base not present? When in the 5 aggregate plane, 85 chittas and 52 chetasikas conditioned by these during existence, when these arise, are these not present? What do we think?
I thought they should be present.
Yes, I mean, yeah, why not? Then me ask the theme. It didn't go anywhere. Now, according to Attipachaya, in this relationship, a conditioning state helps the conditioned state to arise or persist in being during a time when it exists, alongside the conditioned state. It is not necessary. However, for the conditioning state and the conditioned state to be connascent, all that is required is for two to temporarily overlap, and for the conditioning state to support in some way the conditioned state during the time they overlap. Thus, presence condition includes pre-nascence and post-nascence as well as connascence. Now let's go back to this chart. Right? Now this is the we were looking at this one, right? Same as 8-2A. Then we have also object, present 18 concrete matter, right? Then make a put the pathakada, right? Don't be sort of worried about it, right? The second one, which is Arammana Purejata, object pre-nascence, present 18 concrete matter, right? Present 18 concrete matter giving rise to or conditions the arising of 54 sense-sphere chittas, 2 direct knowledges, 50 chetasikas excluding the illimitables. Present concrete. Now, do you get the essence of that? Present concrete matter. E velave e dharmyan paviti yutui. They are present at that time. That is what makes it Attipachaya. In the same way, the 6 material bases here, right, in Vattu Purejata Nisaya, during existence, 6 material bases are present. When they arise, these are present. Atti. Right? Atti. Let us go to, now you get the gist of it, right? Right? Let's go to, why is this not going? Right? Let's go to the next one. Post-nascence. Post-nascence is same as 11. So, post-nascence. In the Panchavokara Bhumi, in the 5 aggregate plane, the later 85 chittas starting from first bhavanga and 52, there are 52 chetasikas. The conditioned state becomes, in the 5 aggregate plane, matter of the body arisen along with preceding chitta from rebirth on at the phase of presence. Right? At the phase of, now I know that is confusing. Right? So let us now go to this. Right? Remember this chart? Yeah. So what is it talking about? Let us read that again. Maybe I can have a side by side. Can you see? No, 11. Post-nascence. Here, this one, everyone. This is post-nascence, right? Pachajata. In the conditioning state is in the 5 aggregate plane, the later 85 chittas starting from first bhavanga, and there are 52 chetasikas. Later 85 chittas starting from the first bhavanga, and there are 52 chetasikas. This is Pachajata. Pachajata, the result occurs first before the cause. The cause occurs later, isn't it? Now, so this arises first, this arises later. Remember? Right? In the 5 aggregate plane, matter of the body arisen along with the preceding chitta from rebirth on at the state of presence. Now this is Patisandhi from rebirth on, right? So rebirth on, should we be taking Patisandhi? This presence is this one, isn't it? Should we be taking this Kammaja Rupa here? Yeah? So we're taking this Kammaja Rupa here, which is also Utu. Right? This moment here. Can you see this moment here? Right? This is after rebirth happens, the first Viti. So this on, matter of the body arisen along with the preceding chitta. Matter of the body arising along with this chitta, right? From rebirth on at the phrase of presence. So this moment on, all those chittas that arise, conditioned by what? This is the result which arises first. The cause becomes the later 85 chittas starting from the first bhavanga. Starting from the first bhavanga. See, the first bhavanga is here. Right? The first bhavanga is here, starting in the 5 aggregate plane, later 85 chittas starting from the first bhavanga, and there are 52 chesikas. Now, does that make sense? Does that make sense?
And when you say first bhavanga, is that past bhavanga? Or?
No, rebirth.
Oh.
After rebirth.
Oh, okay.
After rebirth, because this appears first, isn't it? The conditioned state has to appear first, and it has in the moment of presence, at the moment of Patisandhi. Right? At the moment of Patisandhi. In the 5 aggregate plane, later 85 chittas started from the first bhavanga. Right? First bhavanga. Now what is Pachajata here then? All of these, this energy here, right, has conditioned through Pachajata, Pachaya, post-nascence condition, right, has conditioned this situation to arise. Does that make sense? If we look at it in this manner, right? If we look at it in this manner, which is to live a human life. To live a human life, there must be energy supportive of that life. Hence, because of this energy present here, this occurs. This occurs. Right? Now, let us be the devil's advocate and say, right, and say, this being does not have the energy to continue its life. It will die the very next day. Doesn't matter. Let it die. But still, up until that moment of death, that consciousness will take place. That is why it says, look, starting from the first bhavanga. Do you understand? Meaning, however much time the being lives is regardless of how long the being lives, that is inherent karmic energy, right? However, it is because of that karmic energy where the bhavangas will arise that this process occurred. Hence, pacha jata pachaya. Does that make sense, everyone? Does that make sense? ඇත්තද කියන්නේ? Yeah.
Here, the materiality of body,
Yeah.
it's actually kaya vastu. Sorry, kaya dasakaya.
Kaya dasakaya.
Yeah,
Okay.
kaya body. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually the oh, we lost. So the actually what it says is
Yeah.
kaya dasakaya. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Kaya dasakaya.
This one here.
Yeah. So that means in order to have the kaya dasakaya, shall we go back to the other explanation in the so the kaya dasakaya, this one oh yeah. At the face of presence. So condition state is kaya dasakaya.
Okay. Conditioned state is kaya dasakaya. Okay.
Kaya dasakaya with the preceding chitra form. Okay. So that means the kaya dasakaya is actually supported by the kaya dasakaya is supported by the bhavanga chitta. So the kaya dasakaya here is supported by.
If you say bhavanga chitta, that's wrong.
No, this is
but if you
then
say,
later. No, in this one.
Yes. Later 85 chittas and chesikas is correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. Please
Yeah,
continue.
okay. Later 85 chittas. So that means it says from bhavanga.
Yeah, from bhavanga.
Yeah.
From bhavanga, the time period it's saying.
Yeah, okay. So that means the kaya dasakaya is helping. Kaya dasakaya is helping. No. Helped by.
Yes.
Kaya dasakaya is being helped by the no, it's not clear actually.
Okay, let me.
Yeah.
Now Damsiri.
Yeah.
Right. Now we are talking about the first viti.
Yeah.
We are talking about this first viti.
Yeah.
This viti, if you attain rebirth, this viti is going to arise. I'm just going to enlarge.
Yeah.
Right? Is going to arise.
Yeah.
මේක නවත්තන්න බෑ.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This is going to arise. If you are reborn, this is going to arise.
Right.
Right? That is why Dhamma is saying, at this moment, now the cause and effect, the effect is arising first. Right?
Okay.
Effect is arising first.
First.
What is the effect? This.
Yeah.
At the moment of presence.
Yeah.
But this effect arises, right? This effect may effect එක හටගත්තේ හේතුවෙන්, this is the cause. Cause and effect.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Cause and
Because it's coming later.
Cause is coming later. What does this mean? This means this is talking about karmic life force.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Now, if you, for example, let us take the Chakku Vinyana and the Javanas. Right? Chakku Vinyana, if the inner Mahadva, Atimahanta Ramana Chitta Viti, if the Chakku Dwara arises, the Javana will arise, right?
Yeah.
You cannot stop it.
Mhm.
So what is the cause and effect? The effect is the Chakku Vinyana. The cause is the Javana according to Pachajata.
Yeah.
Why? How? How does that happen? Because the force of energy, or the fact that we have that energy potential,
Okay.
මේ ජීවත් වීමට කර්මයක් තිබුණ හේතුවෙන් අපි උප්පත්තියක් ලබනවා.
Right.
උප්පත්තියක් ලැබූ හේතුවෙන් සහ ජීවත් වීමට කර්ම ශක්තිය තිබූ හේතුවෙන් ප්‍රතිසන්දියක් හටගන්නවා. ඒ ප්‍රතිසන්දිය හටගන්නවා නම් මේ භවාංග ටිකත් හටගන්නවා. That's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So the
Yeah.
cause and effect, the effect is here, right? Effect is here, the cause is here. Why is this the cause? Because this is the energy.
Yeah.
එතන තමයි ශක්තිය තියෙන්නේ.
Right, right.
ඒ ශක්තිය හින්දා තමයි මෙතනින් නැවතෙන්නේ නැත්තේ.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it is because of this energy here that it doesn't stop here.
Yeah.
It goes beyond because
Yeah.
of this energy here. That is why it's Pachajata. Do you understand? Does everyone understand?
And, yeah, thank you, Bhante. It's clear now. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Everyone, is it clear? Okay. Now, it's 8:40, everyone. Shall we stop here? Post-nascence. So next time we will finish 21, nutriment faculty, and we can finish these. Let's see. I mean, no need to rush, right?
Yeah.
All right, everyone. So, any questions before we close the session for today? Was it clear what we did with Pachajata there? Yes?
Yes, Bhante.
Yeah?
Yes, Bhante.
It's really...
Do that for homework.
Yeah.
Sorry?
We'll do some
Bhante.
homework.
Bhante,
Homework word කරන්න කිව්වා කිය. Okay, you're saying you're talking about homework. Okay, hold on. Homework, you're talking about homework, so you don't really understand, do you?
නෑ මේ ආපහු මතක් කරගන්න එක බලන්න ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ අපි කියලා
ආපහු
දුන්නා.
මතක් කරගන්න දෙයක් නැහැ.
හැබැයි ඔබේ වහන්සේ කතාව අහන්න පුළුවන් නේ අපිට if you put it ඒකයි.
පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න. No. Where is this? Okay. Just one more time. Right? Just one more time. Is that okay? Can I explain it one more time? Yeah? What this is talking about is really simple. Usually we are used to cause and effect, right? Cause and effect, right? Now, if we take, for example, proximity condition, right? If we think about proximity condition, what is proximity condition?
Anyamanya pattha.
Proximity.
Anyamanya.
Proximity anyamanya නෙමෙයිනේ. Anantara. Anantara paccaya. What is proximity? Proximity condition means because of, here, preceding 89 chitta, me mote tiena, the chitta 89 chitta, and the succeeding. So proximity condition means, let me go back to, so here, everyone, what proximity condition means is, according to Anantara Paccaya, me sita hataganne, right? Me devani jamana sita, the second jamana chitta arises because of this chitta. Do you understand? That is Anantara Paccaya. It is because this chitta arises and passes away that this chitta is able to arise. That is Anantara Paccaya. Do you understand? Proximity, right? Proximate cause, proximity, right? Now, in Pacchajata, we are talking about something else, right? We are talking about something else. What are we talking about? We are talking about a reality where a certain effect arises first and its cause arises after, right? Now you take this scenario. Now, just imagine, right? This being, whoever this being might be, he is reborn, right? He is reborn. He is reborn. Why? Because he has a karma to be reborn. Rahatan Vahanse namak නැවත උප්පත්තියක් ලබන්නේ නැහනේ. He has a karma to be reborn. If he has a karma to be reborn, right? Think that he is a human. If he has a karma to be reborn, he will have this first chitta viti. Is that clear? Right? That is the rebirth, first chitta viti. This will happen. According to chitta niyama, it will happen. Right? So, now, according to Pacchajata, what Pacchajata Paccaya says is this. This rupa, or this rupa that arises at the moment of presence, right? Arises, which is the effect, essentially, right? Which is the effect, right? Arises first at the moment of patisanti. This arises because ජීවත් වීමට හැකියාවක් තිබෙන හේතුවෙන් තමයි මේ ප්‍රතිසන්දි අවස්ථාවේ මේ රූපය හටගන්නේ. Again, because of the fact of we have karma and supportive factor to support life, that is why this arises here. Do you understand? Right? So the effect is this. Where is the cause? Now, where do we see the potential to live? ජීවත් වීමට හැකියාවක් ජීවත් වීමට හැකියාවක් තිබෙන හේතුවද අපි දැන් කොහෙන්ද දකින්නේ? ශක්තියෙන්නේ. ඒ ශක්තිය කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? It has in life. Life is here. Do you understand? The ability to continue that stream, the continuation of life, that we find the second bhavanga onwards, the first bhavanga onwards. Do you understand? Right? What that shows is this. Now, if, for example, let us say this pratisandhi, in a parallel universe of the unknown, this pratisandhi appeared just on its own. Pacchajata paccaya තියෙනවද? නැහැ. Is there a pacchajata? No. Right? Why? What I'm saying is, in a parallel universe which is unknown, if this patisandhi just appeared on its own, the first patisandhi appears on its own, there is no pacchajata. Right? There is no pacchajata. Why there is a pacchajata is, it is because of this life force here. This karmic, janaka karma, jivat vima, මේක ඔක්කොම janaka karma. Right? Janaka karma. Right? Which gives life, which propagates life. That janaka karma is what allows this patisandhi to arise. According to Pacchajata Paccaya. Do you understand? Is that clear? Right? Is that clear? what we are looking at is a series of consciousness. One consciousness does not make a series. A flow within the conscious continuum makes a series. ඔතකොට මේ පළවෙනි චිත්තය හටගන්නේ මේ අනිත් චිත්තයන්ගේ සපෝට් එක තියෙන හින්දා. right? අර අනාගතයේ හටගන්නේ ඒ චිත්ත ධර්මයන් වල සපෝට් එක හේතුවෙන් තමයි මෙන්න මේ ප්‍රතිසන්දි මේ චිත්තේ අර රූපයන් ටික හටගන්නේ. Do you understand? That is how. So the patisandhi, this is the effect, and from the first bhavanga onwards, it is up until the continuation of life that becomes the cause. The cause. ඒ ජීවත් වීමට හැකියාව හෝ ජීවත් වන්නට කර්ම තිබ්බේ හේතුවෙන් සංස්කාරක ධර්ම තිබුණේ හේතුවෙන් මේ ප්‍රතිසන්දි චිත්තය හටගන්නවා. right? රහතන් වහන්සේ නමකට මේ ශක්තිය නොතිබෙන හේතුවෙන් මේ ප්‍රතිසන්දි චිත්තයේ ඒ රූපය හටගන්නේ නැහැ. තේරුණාද? right? That is what it means. Because the Arahat does not have this Shaktiya, me Shaktiya, me cause එක නැති හේතුවෙන් මේ effect එක හටගන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ no rebirth. Is that clear, everyone? Makes sense?
Yes, Bhante, very clear.
Yeah? Good. එහෙනම් එතනින් අපි පන්තිය නිමාවකට පත් කරමු.
සායනහන්සට පින් සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
හරි. So what about our revision class? Right? When do we need a revision class, or am I the only one who's interested in a revision class?
Yes, we need a revision class, Bhante.
The thing is,
Yeah.
if you are stronger and if you know what is going on, you really don't need to attend the revision class, right? If you're stronger, what we need, I know that some of you are really struggling or need a bit of support and help. So it is for those who the revision class is for, right? So if you're on the weaker side and need a little bit of support, that is for whom the revision class is for. So, I think because in the next stages before we stop this, it is good to sort of have this properly sort of done and dusted almost, right? So when are we able to sort of have a revision class then?
I am ready for any day, Bhante. Majority. I am ready for anything.
Bhante, at the same time, we should be able